Hey guys, welcome back to a page in the chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige and it is time for my May TBR. We are having a very chill one this month. It's dissertation experiment month, it's a big deadline month. It's also, I'm just coming off the back of a reading slump that I briefly mentioned at the end of my small town romances are the worst thing to ever happen to me video. I will link that if you haven't seen it. Yeah, that video gave me an absolutely huge reading slump and YouTube slump, which is why you haven't seen me around for a little while. But coming off of that, I have literally just been mood reading or putting it to Bookstagram to choose my books for me, and that is very much the vibe that I want to take into May. However, I do have some books that I think that I'm going to read in May that I am quite excited to read, and so I'm going to share those with you today. But yeah, it is very much a mood read as much or as little as I want in whatever genres that I want, just going with the flow type of month. But I am not a go with the flow, you know. I can go with the flow, but what time does the flow start is me summed up. So we've got some guidelines, but we're gonna go with the flow within the guidelines. So if you guys would like to see more of my face in your subscription box, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. Also, as I said, I do ask over on Instagram particularly what I should read next, so do feel free to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Page and Chapter, so you can have a say in what I'm reading, see what's going on behind the scenes, and then by choosing what I'm reading you're also kind of having a say in the kind of content that you watch on this channel. So it's kind of a good thing to go and do. So I have 4 books to share with you today, and let's get on into them. So the first book that I have to share with you was actually a mood read. I was very randomly in the mood for this book, and I can now see it becoming one of my favourites of all time, and it has set the tone for this TBR, and that is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I have the Fairy Loot signed editions of these, all very exciting. So yeah, with the kind of revival of the Hunger Games at the moment, was really in the mood for a dystopian. I wanted to reread the Hunger Games actually, but I really want to buy special editions of the Hunger Games, so I'm waiting for someone to announce that they have them. I'm assuming with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie coming out that some company somewhere is going to release special editions of the Hunger Games, and I want them, and I'm waiting for those. So I decided to finally read Scythe. Been on my TBR for a while. These books are gorgeous, and you know, if I'm in the mood for kind of a YA dystopian, I feel like maybe I should read one that I haven't read yet and is just sitting on my physical TBR. So I picked this up. I am 280 pages into this book. I think it's going to be a 5-star read. I'm 280 pages in and I still have absolutely no idea where the story is going. I was talking about this over on my Bookstagram the other day, that I don't know why it's taken me so long to read this book, because it's everything that I would enjoy in a book. So if you are unaware, this follows a dystopian society set in the future where humanity has basically progressed so far in terms of science, medical care, technology. Humans no longer die. Like, we've overcome pain, we've overcome illness, we've overcome death. You can reach a certain age and just decide that you want to reset your biological age to younger so that you can just keep going in the period of aging that you most enjoy. And so to combat thus like population size and things like that, the society has created this band of people called scythes, and they go around gleaning. They call it gleaning, but it's killing. They go around basically culling the population, and the book very much explores how it's supposed to be random and unbiased, but it never really is. It also has a similar theme to the Hunger Games in that we watch these 2 teenagers as they are training to be scythes and know kind of how wrong it is and didn't agree with it, and we're now like watching them having to go out and learn how to kill people, and an element of doing it for entertainment and showmanship has been brought into this in the way that it kind of is in the Hunger Games, and it just is exploring so many different themes. So my favourite thing is that this feels like Frankenstein if it was written in the Hunger Games era. It explores the same kind of fears as Frankenstein in advancement of science and technology and going too far, but whereas Frankenstein looks at it in terms of creation of Frankenstein's monster, this book very much looks at it in terms of destruction and also like humans' fear of death and destruction of humanity and society as a result of this, especially like also exploring people fear being gleaned and randomly dying, but they don't experience natural death or pain anymore. And so what effect does that have on how as humans we can enjoy society? You know how we like it, everyone always talks about how you need the bad to truly like enjoy the good, and I think this book really explores it well. And it also really explores the complexity of these scythes. Like, they're set up very much as the villains, but as we explore the scythedom through the device of the two main characters as they are learning, you realise how much more complex it is and what is bad in this situation. I love how complex young adult books can be sometimes. This one is blowing me away, and as well as it just blowing me away in terms of what its themes and what it's exploring, it's just a fun read. There are real like elements and subplots to this book that I am so interested and excited to see how they play out. And as I said, I'm 280 pages into this book and I just have no idea where it's going, which doesn't happen very often for me in books. I can normally see where the plot's gonna go, and I'm so pleasantly surprised to not. So I've started this one. I plan on finishing it in May. I'm very, very excited about it, and yeah, as a result of being so pleasantly surprised by that book and excited about it, I will also be picking up Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. I believe this is the second one. Yes, Arc of the Scythe book 2. I very much plan on just binge reading this series. I don't know what happens in this book to be able to tell you about it. I feel like if I look at the blurb, it might give me some spoilies for book 1. Sometimes that happens with second books in a series, like the blurbs will give you some kind of indication as to how the last book wrapped up, and I don't want the spoilies, but I enjoyed that book so much that I do want to go straight into this one. I'm nervous. Me and book 2s in trilogies don't get on very well. I think the only thing that will push me through finishing this is I spent monies on the Fairy Loot trio, so I'm gonna have to read them. But even if I enjoy the second one less, which is possible, it's not the end of the world. I find that second books in trilogies tend to just be fillers, really. Like, you have the first book that is kind of the general concept, probably the first concept that the authors come up with, and it's very much introducing you to the world. It's setting up where the plot is going to go, but it also has to be really intriguing and fast-paced because it has to get you into the series, and so that's why I find book 1s tend to be my favourite. Book 2s I find then just kind of act as this device of slowing everything down again. You need to flesh out some things and lay the groundwork for some things that are going to be in the big finale, but you need to slow down that pace, and this very much could be the case with this one, but we will see. I might still enjoy it. Some book 2s I've been pleasantly surprised by. I'm just hoping Neal Shusterman doesn't do me wrong here. And then naturally I also have to read The Toll by Neal Shusterman, which is book 3 in Arc of a Scythe. This is chunky though. Like, the first book, Scythe, I think is around the 300 page mark. If I'm at 280 now, I feel like I still have at least 100 pages to go, so it must be close to 400 pages, but it didn't read like that. I felt like I was getting through it super quickly, and it didn't feel like a big book at all. I was actually really surprised when I saw that I was nearly 300 pages in, because it didn't feel like that. So I'm hoping that this will also feel the same, and it won't feel like I've got 3 really chunky like dystopian fantasy books on my TBR this month, because this is no spoilies, no spoilies, no spoilies, no spoilies, no spoilies, no spoilies, no spoilies. This is 630 pages long. I didn't know that. This is like the Poppy War kind of long. Oh, you know what, I'm not taking it off the TBR, I'm gonna try it. I really, if I could binge read this series, that would be a whole series off my physical TBR. It would be 3 books off my physical TBR, and I would finally know what happens in this series, and I would be excited about it. So the aim for the month really is to try and make as big a dent as humanly possible in this trilogy. I'm hoping that I can really get into this third one. If I could finish the third one as well, that would be absolutely kind of blowing myself away. Hopefully what I need is for books 2 and 3 to continue to be as gripping as book 1 was, or is, because I'm still reading it, and then we won't have a problem with me finishing it. Fingers crossed, guys. And then just for the sake of some diversity here, another book that I would really like to get to is, it's a fantasy romance. I'm still a romance reader. I am. And I'm still loving the romance. But I recently read The Dead Romantics and I loved it so much, but it gave me a little bit of like a romance hangover. Like, I enjoyed it so much and it's so unlike any other romance book that I've read that I wasn't really sure where to go. I felt like everything else would just be slightly disappointing in comparison. So we've pivoted a little bit into this dystopian fantasy phase, which I am more than okay with. A lot of the physical books on my TBR happen to be fantasy, so this bodes well for me getting some of those off my TBR. And so the next one I would like to pick up is Hooked by Emily McIntire. This is a Never After novel. I believe it is book 1, and I believe it's a smutty retelling of Captain Hook and Wendy from Peter Pan. It may not be smutty, don't hold me to that. I did pick it up in the adult section, which makes me think it could be smutty, but I'm not entirely sure if this is adult or young adult because I don't necessarily trust where people shelve things. But I think, fingers crossed anyway, I think this is a smutty fantasy romance following Captain Hook and Wendy. But I should mention, Wendy is not a child in this book. She's 21 years old. And she is the daughter of Peter Pan in this retelling, and she hates her father. I believe her father is so kind of wrapped up in trying to kill Hook that he is neglecting his family entirely, and his daughter really, really doesn't like him. So she goes and teams up with Hook to try and get back at her father, basically. It seems tension-filled and fun and delicious and just a really easy read. So if I need a break from the heavy dystopians, I can kind of just crack into this one. I think I'd have some fun with it. I do believe it's a series, so if I really enjoy it, then there could be another series to binge here, and that is very exciting. And so here we have my TBR for the month of May. I was going to say, oh, it's short and sweet, but now realizing what I've signed up for, trying to binge read the entire Arc of a Scythe trilogy, not knowing the last book was over 600 pages long, I no longer think this TBR is short and sweet. There's only 4 books on it, but they're big books. So wish me luck trying to get through those. I didn't really know what I had signed up for when I agreed to this, but as I said, really, 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 really loving this series so far. So I'm hoping it won't be too difficult to keep going. Let me know if you have read any of these books down in the comment section. I'm assuming I'm like the last person in the world to read the Arc of a Scythe series, but do let me know your thoughts, especially on books 2 and 3. Should I be preparing for a slump? Should I be preparing for everything to slow right down and I'll hate it? I don't know. You let me know. You let me know. If you guys enjoyed this video and you would like to see how I do in terms of getting these books read, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for my wrap up at the end of the month. Or you can check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Page and Chapter to see how I'm enjoying these books as we go along, so you don't have to wait for the entire month to see if I can combat this kind of hefty, slightly TBR. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, you're enjoying everything you are reading, and there are no reading slumps in your future. And I will see you for my next video. Bye guys.